Besides the French escadrilles the flying circus was now squared off against, they found themselves for the first time in combat with the newly formed American squadrons. It hadn't taken long for the American flyers to get into the swing of operational flying, and it was the 94th Aero, Uncle Sam's hat-in-the-ring squadron, that had quickly established itself as the United States' top-scoring unit. Eddie Rickenbacker had downed his first German airplane near the end of April, when he and Jim Hall had boxed in a Pfalz single-seater. Mature and methodical, the former auto racer had spent his first 6 weeks in combat carefully learning his new trade, analyzing each mission he flew and striving to improve on any flaws he perceived he might have made. With the scoring of his first kill, Rickenbacker was on his way, and by the end of the following month he would be an ace. James Norman Hall's wartime career ended on May 6th, when a German anti-aircraft shell slammed into the motor of his Nieuport. Although the round failed to explode, Hall's machine was knocked out of action, and after a wild ride earthwards that saw the Nieuport's wings shedding their fabric, Hall managed to get his plane onto the ground, where he was immediately taken prisoner. The continuing problem the Nieuport 28s were having with their wing covering almost killed Eddie Rickenbacker on the 17th, when he dove in hot pursuit after an Albatross fighter over Richecourt. Moments after scoring hits on the German machine, which went straight into the ground, he heard a loud crack and was horrified to see most of the fabric fluttering loose from his upper wing. The Nieuport miraculously stayed airborne, and by carefully experimenting with the combination of stick, rudder, and throttle, had somehow managed to limp home across the lines. It had been a close call for America's future ace of aces. During a discussion amongst the hat-in-the-ring squadron's pilots, the subject of catching fire had come up. Being burned to death in the air was every combat flyer's greatest nightmare, and opinions varied on the pilot's best action to take should the unthinkable occur. Some vowed that they would jump and fall to their death before allowing themselves to burn up. Roual Lufbery was of the opinion that he would never abandon his machine if it caught fire, but would ride it down, trying to sideslip the flames away from himself. Jumping, he reasoned, meant sure death, while staying with the craft offered the pilot at least a chance of survival. On the morning of May 10th, Lufbery found himself racing into the air to intercept a German photography machine that was approaching his home base. In full view of the Americans on the ground, he was watched as he repeatedly attacked the German plane, which flew along unaffected. The newer Albatross two-seaters were by now heavily armored, which made them increasingly difficult to knock down. As his friends looked on, Lufbery's Nieuport swerved in behind the Albatross for another try, and then suddenly burst into flames. Lufbery's plane then rolled over onto its back, and the American fell away from the burning machine. It's unknown whether Roual Lufbery had jumped to spare himself from the inferno, or had simply failed to fasten his seatbelt as he'd rushed to get airborne and intercept the German. Major Lufbery had fallen in a French village not far from the airfield, where his lifeless body lay impaled on a picket fence.